Ayan, and now we're live. Hi, hello, magandang tanghali. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another session of Career Talk Thursdays. I'm Roan, and I'll be your host for today. So this is our fourth session, and this afternoon, we'll be talking about common questions, common interview questions, and how to answer them. Malalaman natin today kung paano nga ba natin sasagutin or anong ba yung mga okay na responses sa mga common interview questions during a job application. So before we start, I want to let everyone know that this event is hosted by Prospel Philippines. So sino nga ba si Prospel? Prospel is a career portal and jobs board designed specifically for students and fresh graduates. We help you get the best start to your careers by providing you all the information, day in the life articles, career events, and jobs that are for you. So Prospel is present and works with employers, universities, associations, and students across Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. So samahan nyo kami today na magkwentuhan, magtsikahan, and if you have any questions, feel free to send them over sa chat box natin at itatanong natin yan sa guest speaker natin. So for today, gusto natin yung mood natin light lang, no? Kasi itong topic na to, very intimidating talaga to sa job application eh. And ngayon meron na tayong almost 50 na viewers sa Facebook natin. And mamaya meron tayong pa-icebreaker. So maghintay lang muna tayo ng mga tao para mas dumama yung tao na magkaroon ng chance manalo ng 500 pesos. So medyo meron tayong budget for today's video, di ba? Meron tayong pa 500 pesos. So before we begin, let me introduce our guest speaker for this session. So Miss Pink Aparicio is currently a consultant and finance market expert for mid-senior level roles at Michael Page International Recruitment Philippines. As a consultant, she speaks to finance manager, VP, CFOs, and finance directors day in, day out to help find the right profile for her clients. So prior to joining Michael Page Philippines as consultant number one, she has experience in business development, corporate governance, stakeholder management, project leadership, and strategic analysis, among others, with companies such as Institute of Corporate Directors and CarTrack as Asia Pacific. So personally, she is passionate about creating positive impact in underserved communities and helping leaders in every way she can. So a mindset she brings to every business interaction. She firmly believes in delivering the best value to both partners and candidates, finding the right fit between individuals and roles through understanding of needs and insight. So let's all welcome Miss Pink Aparicio. Ayan. So
Thank
ngayon,
you, Ron.
yan. So ngayon, bago tayo mag-start sa presentation ni Miss Pink, kumustahin naman natin muna siya. Siya muna i-interviewin natin, di ba? Kasi lagi siya yung nag-i-interview eh. So syempre gusto muna natin na maging comfortable siya and maging comfortable din kayo na viewers. And yun nga, gusto natin na very casual lang yung conversation, na mapag-uusapan natin siya na hindi kabado bente, hindi kinakabahan, gano'n. So ayun, kumusta ka Miss Pink?
Okay naman. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Prosper, for inviting me. And thank you sa lahat, actually, who's wanting to spend their lunchtime with us.
Mm. So ayan. Ready ka na ba mag-present for today?
Ready na.
Okay. Ganun ba sa ano?
Siyempre,
Ganun ba?
oo.
Ganun, no? Siyempre, di ba, pag interviewer, parang dapat ready ka, di ba? So,
Oo.
ayan. Ready na daw siya. So, ayan. Mag-start na si Miss Pink sa kanyang presentation.
Okay, sige. So, I know that most of, those attending here today are new grads, no? So you're probably still planning your career, the path you'll take, exploring in general what opportunities might be available for you. So really more of what we'll discuss today will be about interview process. So what common questions will be asked of you and how you can answer them. Probably actually some of you are still waiting for your first interview, no? Yung iba nagsisend pa rin ng CVs, or maybe just anxiously waiting to know where to start. So hopefully at the end of this session, it can help you prepare for these interviews. I'm gonna give you practical tips, the do's and don'ts, and what employers. So like myself, no, kasi ako nga yung usually nag-interview ng mga candidates. What are we really looking for when we ask certain questions? So Roanne, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so just that's just me. My LinkedIn profile, by the way. So yeah, sige, let's go to the first question. Okay. So um, okay, go ahead. Okay. So very important the interview, the initial interview. Why? Because we all know that the first impression matters. What you show in the interview is actually a reflection of you know who you are, how you can contribute to the organization. That's why you need to prepare succinct and relevant responses to common questions. I think it always is doing you more good than harm if you practice with a friend or a mirror. At the end of the day, kasi it's also about confidence when you get on that call, when you get to that interview. So next slide, please. Okay, first common question. Tell me about yourself. This question parang medyo minsan overwhelming, no, to think about how to answer it. Because I know, we all know that there's a lot of things we can tell about ourselves. But these are some of the things that we need to focus on because what interviewers are really looking out for is number one, your presentation skills. And secondly, how you fit into their culture. So some of the things that you need to do would be to give a quick summary of your career or of your previous experience in college, of things that you are passionate about, how you think who you are led you to applying for a specific role or specific industry. You can also highlight your achievements, probably in the ACAD orgs that you joined or in other programs or extracurricular activities that you joined in your school. At the end of the day, you have to be brief and succinct. You have to tailor your response to the role and, of course, have a personal brand. For the don'ts part, you don't need to actually share your personal life. You can just focus on yourself. You don't need to, um, share more about your family, what your parents or what your brothers, sisters are doing in life. It's really more on you that is relevant to the company. And don't repeat your resume. Like some people would say, as you have read in my resume, no. So that's a no-no. So I think the best way for me to demonstrate this is to give you an example. I'll use myself as an example. This is probably how I also positioned myself when I was still a newly graduate. No? So for instance, ganito, sabihin ko na, when someone asks me, tell me about yourself, Pink, I would say, I recently graduated BS Development Communication from University of the Philippines, Los Baños. I majored in community broadcasting, where we created content, produced TV programs, radio shows, facilitated learning activities for farmers, women in the community, children. I'm really passionate about helping people and getting involved in the community. I also took entrepreneurship and business electives where I learned more about corporate structure and foundation. So you see, parang while I was telling about my my degree, my course, I was also telling what I've done and also saying how relevant it is to a potential role that I can do. And then, of course, I think goes without saying, no, that you don't really have to just keep talking for 5 minutes or have this big monologue. No, it's a conversation. So you don't need to say everything on the onset. Just let them also ask follow-up questions. So that's about the first question, and later on you can probably keep your questions, and then let's go over them through. I mean, during the Q&A session. So next slide, please. Okay. So next is, why do you want to work here? So what interviewers are looking for would be your enthusiasm and knowledge about the role in the company. That is why, firstly, you have to do your research. You have to check the company website and also relevant news about the company, if they're expanding, if there are new projects that they're getting involved with. Um, and so, how you can position yourself here is, tell them what piqued your interest and elaborate on your relevant strengths and achievements and skills. No, so I think one of the things that you can also highlight would be that looking at the culture, because usually companies would post their values. And if you think their values are aligned with yours, you can say that to answer this question. And also, you can say na if the company is expanding, you can say um, I want to be part of a company, of a growing company. I see myself contributing. I see myself learning from this process, and so on. Amen. So next, what are your strengths? So always, I, parang every nung when I was starting, this is always a question that I heard. So what are your strengths? So what interviewers are looking for is really what you're good at and how you will fit into the role. I think it's always a good idea to keep a list of strengths. And then during the interview, you can pick the relevant key strengths. That would be relevant to that role, basically. And then how you can position it is, um, say, a specific strength and support it with an example. Like you can say that I think one of my strengths would be leadership. When I was part of this organization, we had a program for the farmers where we were involved from conceptualization, planning, implementation, and post implementation. And because of that, there were this number of farmers who attended the training, and it was a successful event. Ganyan, ganyan. So, you are basically saying a strength that you have demonstrated. And then, for instance, another example would be if it's a sales job, you can say that you're a people person. So one of your strengths would be being a people person. I can relate to anyone easily. I have worked on different programs that allowed me to be exposed to different sectors of the society, and I enjoy meeting new people, hearing about their stories, things like that. And then next, please. Siyempre kung may strength, meron ding weaknesses. And this is actually a tricky question because, I mean, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, right? Because this is actually where interviewers would look at how self-aware you are at the workplace and how you'd be open to improving. So the line could always be um, weaknesses. Would you see this as an area for improvement? You can mention some skill set that you lack and outline the steps that you are taking to overcome the shortcoming. And just be honest, no? I mean, who doesn't have any weaknesses, right? So I think the best way for you to answer this question is just give an example. Like, for instance, you can say na you're nervous about public speaking. And what you're doing now is you're exposing yourself to different speaking engagements, or going out of your shell to make sure you have um, the opportunity to speak to at least 5 people or 10 people. No, another example could also be, you can say na I have a tendency to take much responsibility. Like when I was an intern, my manager back then told me that I could have, I could have improved on this. And now that I'm aware of it, I make sure that I the roles or the tasks that I take are something that I can do within the week, parang ganon. So specific things like this, like how you're handling it, yun yung mas important. And then next, okay. So what have been your achievements? So with this naman, um, I also think like your strengths, like your weaknesses, you always should also have a list of your achievements. Make sure that how you will also position it would be first, have a good understanding of the situation, the actions that you took, and the skills that you utilized, and then end it with the outcome that was achieved because of the situation. No, so like also the strengths, you have to pick which ones would be relevant to the role. Like if it's a marketing role, no, so you can say that you you met with different people because of an activity you had in college, or you've been leading meetings, closing deals, partnering with different organizations. Okay. Next, please. Okay. So, what are your future goals? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? How do you see yourself developing in this company? So, these are um, some of the ways this question is asked, but it's basically just looking out for if you have any ambition, if you've been planning your own career. So I think it's not a good idea to tell them, I see myself being part of this company. No, but what you can do is describe how your goal is to actually continue to grow, continue to learn, and wanting to add value and take on new responsibilities in the future. Again, kaya you have to do your assignment because you have to really understand what role you're applying for so that you can answer this question based on that. So if you think you are planning to pursue further studies, then you can actually say that. You can say that in 3 years' time, I'm planning to pursue MBA. In 3 years' time, I'm planning to take uh, to go into law school, yung mga ganun. Because at least they know that you're someone with an ambition, or you're someone who's self-driven, diba? Goal-oriented. Um, and then you can also say, if it's 5 years time, if yun yung tanong, if that's the timeline, you can describe a marketing manager, for instance, kung yun yung pinag-a-apply mo, ba marketing role na, balikan natin yun. You can say that in 5 years time, I see myself, not really saying that, being a marketing manager, but more focusing on the skills. Like, mm, in 5 years time, I see myself being able um, to handle accounts, meeting different clients, closing deals, leading a team, mga ganon. Um, and the next slide. Okay, this is actually my favorite question. No, do you have any questions for me? Um, I think it's a big no-no also to say you have no questions, because what interviewers are looking out for is really your proactiveness, whether the job has parts that you will dislike or like. So it's important to always think of a question, be it about, a question more about the company, more about the role that you're applying for, how you can also ask how you fit into the grander scheme of things. Like, of course, this means you're asking of about the structure of the company or of your team. And then I think it's always a good idea to ask the interviewer if they have feedback about your profile in your application. So right then and there, you know what else you can improve on and what else you can say so that you can better present yourself as someone fit for the role, right? Um, Yun. At the end of the day, just think that a job interview is a two-way street. So they interview you, and you at the same time can also see if this is the right role for you. So you can always ask questions. And then I think this would be the last one. So next slide, please. Um, Yeah. So they might ask you, how do you think the interview went? So this shows your overall self-awareness. What you can do is share that, what you enjoyed about the conversation. And if you really did enjoy the interview, then might as well say it, right? You can say things like, I really enjoyed how it was more of a conversation rather than an interview. I see myself, kind of put in your own feedback there too, na understanding more about the role. You really see yourself going into the role, and actually doing the job and being part of the company. You can also then ask for the next steps. And then next slide, please. And so after the job interview, it is important, to show your sincerity by doing follow ups. You can even ask them when they can think, I mean, when you can follow up. Now, when would be an appropriate time to send them a message or an email, to follow up on their feedback? Because basically, syempre, they'd have to meet with, if they have a team of hiring managers, they'd have to meet first and assess the candidates, and then they'll get back to you usually 1 week or 2 weeks. So I think it's always a good idea to make sure you follow up. Yeah, I think that would be it. Final advice would actually be, just go on more interviews. Just go on exposing yourself to doing the interviews, so that you can also reflect back and see where areas you can improve on, um, until you get hopefully your dream job, diba? So yeah, I guess that's it.
Ayan. Sobrang insightful, no? And parang makikita talaga natin kung ano yung thought process ng isang interviewer. Kasi 'di ba, hindi natin alam kung ano yung mga possible na mangyari during an interview. And kadalasan pag nagpe-prepare tayo as an interviewee, parang
Ron, are you there?
oh, hello?
Yes.
Ayan, narinig mo na ako?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sayang ang dami ko ng sinabi.
Oh no, wala akong narinig.
So, sabi ko sobrang insightful na parang ngayon nalaman namin yung thought process ng isang interviewer. Kasi 'di ba, as an interviewee, parang ino-overthink namin kung ano ba yung mga lalabas na questions. Parang Miss Universe lang yung thing. Parang
Oo.
bunutan, ganun. Ano kaya itatanong niya? Mas tatanungin niya ba yung about sa strength ko or sa weakness ko? And parang sobrang pag-overthink namin as interviewees. Minsan, nagiging clouded yung utak namin. And yun nga,
Mhm.
nahihirapan kami na i-express ng mabuti. And to the point na hindi namin mabibigyan ng justice yung pag-flex ng sarili. Kasi 'di ba, may opportunity 'yon para ano mo talaga, i-flaunt mo yung sarili mo in a good way, ganun. So,
Hmm.
ayun, ang dami nating natanggap na questions. And bago tayo mag-start sa Q&A session, mag-icebreaker muna tayo. Eto. Meron tayong prepare na isang question. And yung pinakawitty na answer, merong 500 pesos. O, di ba? Meron tayong pang Shopee. And malapit na yung yung
Sale.
sale
End of,
nila.
yeah,
Oo.
month
Di
end
ba?
sale, yeah.
Oo. Naka-ready na, ganyan. So, yung question natin, ayan, mafa-flash siya sa screen. Ano yung line na pwede niyong sabihin during a job interview and sa crush nyo? So, for example, ito, personal to. Prepare ko to, pinag-isipan ko to na mabuti. Sabi ko, I know that I'm the perfect candidate for the role of being your jowa. O, diba?
You're fired.
Fired na ako. Sorry, Prosper. Charot. Napirata pala. So, ayan. So, i-comment nyo lang yung responses nyo and babasahin ko talaga yan, isa-isa. And kung natuwa ako sa mga responses nyo, baka dalawa pa yung piliin ko, di ba? Masyadong
Oh,
masyadong
generous.
galante si Prosper. So, ayan, mag-flash na tayo ng mga questions from our audience and sasagutin to ni Miss Pink. Eto, uh, paano po sagutin ang why should we not hire you? Sabi ni Trish Ann Francinilia.
Okay. Ano din, no? Three question din yan.
Oo.
Why should we not hire you? So I think dito, ang main question is really more about how confident you are and how well you know your strengths. So you can say that I really think I am a good fit for the role because ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Because that's when you have to also then demonstrate what you've done in the
Mm.
past. That makes you that makes it parang talagang aligned sa gagawin na nung role na to. Yun, it's so don't really think about ano mangyayari sa company pag hindi ka nila hinar. But think about ano yung makukuha nilang benefit or value kapag hinar ka nila. Diba?
So, medyo parang trap question ba to? Or parang tinitingnan ng company kung paano ka mag-isip in a creative way? Ganun ba?
Yes, oh. And tinitignan nila how fast you can think on your feet, 'di ba?
Mm.
So if I were you, really the suggestion is to answer it with your strength. Answer it with demonstrated experience that you've done.
So, yung next question naman natin ay galing sa YouTube live natin. So, sabi niya, ito si Ali from University of Cordilleras. I have a question, Miss Pink. What are the typical questions from a hiring manager during a second interview? So, ito, ano na siya, no? Nagustuhan na siya kasi nasa
Mm.
second interview na siya eh. So, ayun.
Mm-mm. Yes, pumasa na siya sa first interview. Ang first interview kasi tama ka Ali, no? That's usually HR. And then second interview, hiring manager, meaning mas specific na yung questions niya about the role. Mas technical kung halimbawa this is a finance role or this is an operations role. So this is when you have to make sure you do your research about the company. They can also ask you more about your understanding of the company. Yun.
Ayun. Yung next naman natin na question, how to answer the question, what is something unique about you? Tanong ni V Panda.
Okay. I think what makes us unique in general would be our own experiences and how we've learned from that. So therefore, ang parang feeling ko meeting di ba?
Sige, kahit 15 minutes mong sagutin
Urgent
yan.
question. Pero yeah, seriously, I think how you can answer this is find a unique experience. Find and how you've learned from it.
So, kunwari, ako yung interviewer. Wow, switch roles. Paano mo to sasagutin sa, parang kung ikaw yung interviewee?
Okay,
Makikita
so
natin first hand kung paano sasagot ang isang interviewer sa interview. Job interview.
naisip ko kasi agad kasi may 7 years of experience na ako. So I would start with that. I would start with kung halimbawa ngayon I have 7 years of experience from companies like Michael Page, Institute of Corporate Directors, and Cartrack Asia, which gave me an exposure, no, not just from corporate setup, but also non-government agencies, how they work, how they cater to their clients and target market. Parang ganon. I mean, that's for me. Yeah, I think that's it.
Pero paano if fresh grad? Kasi
Yun
marami
nga eh.
tayong viewers today na fresh grad and ano yung parang pwede nilang masabi na unique thing if wala pa silang experience, parang gano'n.
Mm-mm. Okay. And then let's go back to your strength.
Hmm,
And that's why you have to list your achievements nung college, be it academic and extracurricular. So if you think you've excelled well in academics and then while being able to also lead an organization, that is something unique. If you think you have been consistently an honor student or dean's lister, di ba? You have to highlight that. What else? If you've been exposed to your family business, been helping out in the family, been a breadwinner, or been um, helping out the community in your own little way, then showcase that.
okay. So ano 'no,
Pwede.
pwede nilang
Pwede.
pwede. Pwede nilang i-flag, COO ako, child of the owner.
May value doon, ha? May value din doon. Siyempre, dapat kaya ang
Oo,
focus is yung learning. Mm-mm.
mm. Ayan, meron tayong next question. Sige, ano muna, habang binabasa ko, ano muna, mag water break si Miss Pink. Napalaban siya dun sa question eh. Na ano eh, na personalize eh. So yung next question naman natin galing kay Kuwili Kaimo. How do you maintain good body language in interviews in real life and virtual? Any tips for awkward and fidgety people?
Mm. Um, yeah, I think you have to, kasi 'di ba, at the end of the day, it's both non-verbal and verbal communication. So they will really, interviewers will really look at your body language. Totoo yan. So pagka virtual, then make sure that you don't really move around. Um, kasi, yeah. So things siguro that can help you. I mean, especially if you're someone na talagang fidgety, magalaw, you think you're awkward. I hope you don't, always think that way. Kasi these are the things you can improve on. So make sure you have a good posture. Something basic like that. And if you can not move your feet, but you can move your hands. Medyo na-conscious tuloy ako kasi feeling ko ang galaw-galaw ko din kanina. Like, hindi mo iikot ka na ng upuan mo, di ba? Hindi naman ganon. So, pwede ka naman gumalaw. Pero like, yung small movements. Because I know that it helps you express a point eh. Sometimes when you have
Mm-mm.
to move your hands, di ba? At the end of the day, you have to be comfortable. Just make sure siguro you look at the camera or you place yung video malapit sa camera para may point of focus ka doon. Hindi mo na kailangan gumalaw kasi pag gumalaw ka parang sasayaw ka pa.
siguro kung siguro kung yung role na ina-apply dancerist, 'di ba? Required naman
TikToker,
siguro
ganyan.
TikTokerist. So, in line dun sa question, eto personal question ko to. Kinoment ko pa sa Facebook. Ano yung best advice to overcome interview anxiety? Po. Oh, ang galang.
Galang. Ano, prepare. Yun. Practice, prepare, think of the common interview questions in advance, like what we covered right now. Hopefully, what we are discussing right now is, helping you overcome that anxiety na kasi alam mo na in advance kung ano yung pwedeng tanongin sa'yo, pwede mo isagot, di ba? So that should give you the confidence.
Ayan. So, break muna tayo sa Q&A and magbasa tayo ng responses dun sa, natin, sa wiki answer game. Wow, on the spot isip ng ng title for the icebreaker. So, sabi ni Micah Mirales, I know that I'm the right candidate and I'm the one that you've been waiting for so long. Let's work on this together. Send mo yan sa crush mo, ah. Send mo yan sa crush mo, ah. So, sa entry naman ni V Panda, one of my strengths is you po.
Oh.
Ito, isa pa. Magbasa tayong isa pa. Sabi ni Ali, one of my career aspirations is to be your jowa for a long period of time.
Ah,
Long term naman
serious.
pala. Oo. Date to marry, ganun. So, pipili tayo mamaya. Maghihintay pa tayo ng ibang responses. So, ito, magtanong pa tayo kay Miss Pink. Tanong ni Franzel Evangelista, how can we answer what is your salary expectation?
Okay. I think at this point, lalo na kapag fresh grad, it's better to be more open. No, what I'm sure what your goal is to get the experience, get into a good company, grow into a role, and learn new things. So the best way I think to answer this is say you can give a range. No, what you think would be fair for your expenses and what would be fair as a market um, average in an entry level position. Yeah. Give a range. That's a question. That's the answer.
And yun nga, no, i-research din nila kung ano ba yung acceptable or ano yung usual na bigayan or salary range sa ina-applyan nila.
Correct. Iba-iba din kasi yan per industry.
Mm. And naisip ko lang ngayon, pwede rin siguro if meron kang kilala sa company na kung ano yung salary range, kung pwede silang mag-disclose ng anything about salaries or benefits, ayun. Pwede rin tayo magtanong. Ayan.
Yes.
Approve po ba yan ng interviewer?
Approved.
So, yung next question naman natin, galing kay Loisa sa YouTube live natin. I just want to ask if is it necessary to be fluent in English while answering the interview questions? What if the candidate is not confident to talk in English? Does that mean she or he will not be hired?
Of course not. I don't think fluency in English should be the main criteria. I think at the end of the day nga, it's how you present yourself. You can speak in a long language you're more comfortable in. But of course, there's a degree din kasi of, syempre, being able to communicate yourself in English, lalo na if it's a multinational company and you'd have to work on reports that are in English, diba? I think Filipinos naturally are good English speakers naman. So right now, I'm speaking Taglish, but as long as it's a conversational um, Taglish and hindi naman siya, it's still making sense. I think yun yung mas importante na you are able to communicate what you're thinking or what you want to express. So English, Taglish, that's okay. Speaking Tagalog, if the interviewer is speaking Tagalog, go ahead. Diba?
Yeah. Sobrang rin parang for me din, parang ino-overthink ko if sobrang qualification ba to. And siguro, naisip ko lang din ngayon na siguro kung ina-applyan ay communications officer, gano'n. Sobrang big deal nito. Tama ba?
I honestly, I'm not looking at how good, they speak English. But how they really present themselves and communicate. Kasi you can still speak Tagalog and, say how you are. You can be effective in a role, right? Siguro sa ating mga Pilipino, yung paggamit ng po. Yes,
Mm-mm.
ma'am. Opo. So, siguro yun yung pwede nating bawasan. Lalo na kapag first interviews. I mean, that's very polite, yes.
Mm-mm.
But I think in a professional setting, okay lang na we don't use that much, like per sentence. May ganun
Mm-mm.
kasi tayong tendency minsan eh. Okay lang talagang magtagalog.
Mm-mm. Meron din tayong tanong na inline dito. Tanong ni Jess Buenaventura, paano kapag nag-shift yung pagsagot mo into Tagalog? So parang nag-code switch during a response, ganun. Paano daw yun?
Eh di, tapusin mo yung thought mo in Tagalog kung yun talaga yung kailangan mo para masabi yung gusto mong sabihin. Tapos, kung na-notice o nakita mo sa interviewer mo na hindi yun yung hinahanap niya, then speak English. Kung nakita mo na okay lang sa kanya, sumagot siya na Tagalog, eh di Tagalog na yung usapan nyo. Sa tingin ko, hindi natin kailangan, masyado tong i-overthink. Kumbaga, mas titingnan ko kung ako yung interviewer, yung laman ng sinasabi ng tao, yung experience niya, pinanggagalingan niya, kaysa dun sa, kung paano siya magsalita. Kasi ganito, sa tingin ko, kung meron ka talagang gustong sabihin at may laman yung sasabihin mo, hindi ka mahirapan magsalita. Pero at the same time, kaya maigi din na mag-practice. Para yung thought process mo, alam mo na, alam mo na kung paano sagutin.
Mm. So, yun talaga mag-practice, no? Oo.
Kasi kailangan talaga ng effort. Yes.
Pero,
In relationship and
entry mo ba yun, Miss?
three, yes.
meron tong pang Shopee voucher. So, ito,
Guys, alam niyo na.
meron tayong isang entry dito. How do you see yourself in 5 years? I see myself marrying you. Grabe ba?
Agad-agad.
So, ito, meron pa tayong isang question. Galing kay Kayla Montinola. Ano po yung kadalasan na out-of-the-box questions na tinatanong sa interview?
Well, most of the questions that we covered today are common questions. Pero syempre, meron ding iba-ibang way ang interviewer. I guess depende sa company, depende sa industry. I think out-of-the-box question would be situational questions. Like, questions about your value, about what you would do in a certain situation. Like, may tinanong sa akin dati na, what will you do if, you don't get along with your boss? Mga ganon. So, I guess that depends on the person how they will answer it. No? Kaya, it's good to know your values para when you get asked these out-of-the-box questions, you know how to answer.
Ano, sa experience mo, ano yung isa sa examples ng out-of-the-box questions na natanong mo? Sa 7
natanong
years
ko?
of experience. Yung nakakarawa.
Binalik sa akin
May resibo tayo dito.
Oo. Ano yung tinanong ko?
Yung parang pinaka-remarkable, yung agad yung naiisip ko, gano'n.
Mahilig ako magtanong ng ipapa-compare ko sa candidate yung experience niya from one company to another. And not like for them to compare yung company, but for them to compare their experience. Kung ano yung natutunan nila. As an interviewer, for me personally, I'd like to learn also about, the candidate, about the company that they're working in. So, I ask to learn also. So, yung mga questions na siguro hindi nila iisipin na tatanungin ko. Kasi, for me, kaya ko tinatanong yun, tinitingnan ko din yung thought process nila. Yun.
So, Yung next question naman natin, galing kay Micah Mirales. Is it okay, Miss Pink, to reschedule the interview if you're going through an emergency?
I think yes. Hindi naman natin nakokontrol ang emergency, kaya nga siya emergency, di ba? Hindi, pero seriously, ang mahalaga dito is how will you manage that situation. Firstly, you have to make sure that you tell your interviewer in advance. If you can state the reason, mas maganda yun. Kaysa sabihin mo lang na emergency tapos mag-iisip sila. People are generally understanding. So if you're just, honest, and then of course at the end of the message, just say, you hope you can still reschedule the interview. If you have, if it's something that you think can be resolved in a day, then tell them na hope we can reschedule by the end of the week. Para sila, mag-iisip na din sila, okay, tingnan ko yung calendar ko, kailan ba ako pwede by the end of the week. Diba? So, basically, parang the structure is, give the situation, apologize, give the situation, and then give a solution. Diba?
So, yung dun sa situation na ganun, it's more of the professionalism, ganun. Kung
Exactly.
paano niya ma-communicate yung urgent na nangyari. And makikita din dun yung character ng person, kung paano siya magko-cope. Ayun.
Correct. Oo. Kaya basta as soon as possible, let the interviewer know. Wag sana, I mean, hindi naman natin maiiwasan baka mismong oras sasabihin mo, 'di ba? Pero sana kahit mga 15 minutes before, an hour before, ganun. Kung alam mo na hindi mo maaabutan yung interview, sabihin mo na. Or kung halimbawa, may emergency pero hindi ka sure kung makakaabot ka or not, sabihin mo na lang din. Communication, yun yung mas mahalaga. May entry na naman ako.
Kumukota na tayo for today's video. Effort, communication. Parang
diba?
gumujowa ka talaga pag pag job application eh. So, dito, sa isa pang tanong ni Jess Buenaventura, is it fine if we have a script if the interview is virtual?
Okay lang sa akin. Okay lang yun. Basta hindi halata. Titignan natin yung end goal.
May tips ba tayo para di halata?
Oo. Put your notes malapit sa camera. Para ba binabasa mo siya, hindi halatang nagbabasa ka. Siguro makakatulong din if you put bullet points instead of a paragraph. Para hindi mo kang nagbabasa. Diba? Yun. Yeah, I think that's not a concern. If it's gonna help you, then why not? Because at the end of the day, ikaw din naman nagsabi nun, di ba? Sa'yo din naman galing yun.
Ano yung sa end nyo as interviewer, ano yung parang mafe-feel nyo if parang nagbabasa talaga yung interviewee?
Di kung tuloy-tuloy lang siyang pagsasalita. Tapos may follow-up questions ako, tapos hindi niya masagot. O kaya parang may stick to the script. O kaya stick to reading kung ano yung nasa resume.
May factor ba yun sa selection process nyo?
Kasi sa tingin ko, mas importante na ma-feel din ng interviewers na conversational yung interview. Rather than, alam mo yun, question tas answer.
So, more on talaga yung quality of communication and conversation yung magmamatter sa interview. Ayun. So, yun. Siguro, prepare din talaga, no? Para hindi masyadong robotic yung conversation. Ayun. Meron lang ako i-highlight na comment para sa'yo, Miss Pink.
Okay.
Ang ganda ni Miss Pink. Wow!
Wow! You're hired, joke.
So guys, batiin natin
Joke
yung
lang.
interviewer, charot.
Joke lang yun.
Pero 'di
Pero
ba
salamat
parang to
po.
establish parang rapport, parang is it okay to uh, greet, parang parang kamustahan 'di ba, yung umpisa ng interview. So parang okay ba yun? Gano'n.
I think okay lang na to have a small talk, kaya to have small
Mm,
talk during when you meet with them, when you go to the office, hi, how are you? How's your day? Nice office, mga ganyan. O kaya when you're in the Zoom,
mm.
ganun, how are you pa din? Those things. I think walang masama doon. If you're gonna throw in a compliment, make sure you are sincere about it, 'di ba? So, kasi baka mas ma-turn off 'yun kaysa matuwa sa'yo.
Ayun. So, meron pa tayong, eto, isa pang quest. Actually, ang dami. So, meron pa naman tayong 30 minutes for the
Okay.
Q&A, 20 to 30 minutes. So, another question, Miss Pink. I'm also applying for the role of consultant. Are there any specific keywords that you can give that I should mention during an interview? So, yung parang
Sa
sa
multiple page ba
resume,
'yan?
so parang medyo ano, 'di ba? Medyo parang sa resume, yung mga verb, parang spearheaded, yung mga ganun. Meron bang mga certain keywords during an interview?
Um, sa tingin okay, so specific tayo kung consultant. Kaya kailangan maintindihan mo talaga yung role ng consultant. So, I think kapag consultant, very important to show your ownership of the role. That you can take on a role and work independently. So, or um, your confidence speaking to different people, because as a consultant, I'm sure you'll deal with a lot of people, um, lead meetings, what else? Present. Kaya importante din for the interviewer to see your presentation skills. I think when you're a consultant, you have to be authentic. Where kung ano yung personality mo and how you talk to a friend, just let it show. No, if you're someone na outgoing, bubbly, and then show that in the interview. Minsan hindi mo din masasabi kasi depende din sa personality nung nag-i-interview sa'yo eh. Or nung hiring manager, di ba? If they think you'll fit well in the team. Tapos, if you think, I think organization skills. So how you plan out your day, that's also important to highlight if you're applying for a consultant role. What else? Hmm, thinking on your feet, yon. So you can think of ways na na-demonstrate mo yon para kung tanungin ka, you have a ready answer. What else? Being goal-oriented, self-driven, someone who can work independently, like I mentioned earlier. I think yun yung mga mahalaga na dapat mag-come across when you're applying for this role.
Okay. Ayan, sobrang insightful, no? Parang makikita natin na sobrang passionate ni Miss Pink sa role niya. Kasi nung topic na yon sobrang nakita mong on fire, ganyan.
Wow!
So, meron pa tayong mga questions, di pa tapos. Dami pa.
Okay, sige lang. Oh my, kita ko yung mga comments nila.
Eto, meron, nawala. So, sa pagkakaalala ko, eto, tanong ni Rem de Guzman, how do you answer trick or logical question in an interview?
I think you have to, kung trick question, then there can be no right or wrong answer, no? Ang best way is to answer quickly.
Ito. Isa pang question sa isa YouTube live natin. Tanong ni Isabella C. How would you answer what are your achievements or why should we hire you if talaga pong average student lang, no job experience, no organization, community service experience, or anything?
Eh di focus on your learning at saka kung ano yung focus nung subjects mo nung college. Kung halimbawa, it's more on um, finance or more on operations, something that's still relevant to the role. Yun. You can say na I have a good foundation of uh, in terms of operations. That has been my major in college. Ganun. I am able to multitask. Even nga yung part na how your family values, no, how kunwari you're helping out in the family. Yun, you can say that also because it shows a degree of responsibility, diba? And I'm sure us Filipinos, madami sa ating ganyan.
Mm. So, ayan. Wait, mag-shoutout lang tayo kasi nandito sa Facebook Live natin yung speaker natin from last week's webinar, si Miss Prisha. So, hello din sa'yo. At thank you sa pagdaan at pagbisita ng live natin for today. So, ayan. Meron din tayong tanong dito galing kay Jam na Pau. Meron po bang pre-interview exercise para ma-less yung pag-stutter during interview?
Baka maging personal tip. Depende sa'yo how you calm yourself down, right? I think kasi pag nagsistutter ka, it's when mas mabilis, mas marami kang naiisip, hindi maka-keep up sa pagsasalita mo. Kaya the best way for me to handle this would be to speak slowly. I mean, not very slow, pero like speak yung average speed para hindi ka diba? Ganon. Also, kung pre-interview naman, then just make sure you're doing something that will calm you down. If it's meditation, if it's breathing exercise, if it's walking, drinking water, looking in the mirror, saying things that, words of affirmation, iba-iba eh. So what works for you? So those are some of the things that can really help. But hopefully, ma-overcome din yung pagsastutter. I mean, hindi naman talaga natin mawal totally, I think, yung mga diba? Kasi, you're thinking as you're speaking. So, okay lang yan. Yun. Na nakatulong.
Sobrang normal lang talaga yung may pause, no? And nakakatulong, personally sa akin, nakakatulong din siya kung ano yung best na sasabihin mo next. Kasi parang nag-iingat din tayo sa sasabihin natin, ganyan. So, mag-work on talaga yon through time, I
Correct.
guess. Parang pag lagi ka lang nagsasalita, ganyan. And ayun nga, gaya ng sabi ni Miss Pink kanina na if take ka lang ng interviews, kahit na ma-reject ka, di ba? Parang practice na rin siya kasi in real life na talaga nangyayari yung pinapractice nyo. So, ayun. Magbabasa tayo ng isang ang dami din entries eh. Ito sabi niya.
Sige.
I tend to embrace working under pressure because it forces me to become the best version of myself and act quickly and decisively. By the way, kumain ka na ba?
Winner!
May stamp of approval ka na. So, ikaw na yung isang winner. So, meron pa tayong isang PPDL. And i-announce natin yan. Meron tayong pa-announcement sa page natin. Sige. Wow, bida-bida eh. Pinag-isipan nyo ng mabuti eh, di ba? So, ito, meron pa tayong question. What's the best or most memorable question an interviewee has asked you?
Ang dami. Siguro madami rin kasi ako nag-i-interviews.
Recent, ganun.
Okay. Teka. Siguro I would be ano ba? Nag-iisip ako ng specific eh. Tsaka
Mm.
best, parang pag best kasi titignan ko lahat ng mga naging questions. Pero
Babalikan
sige,
mo.
siguro yung tumatak na lang, no? Oo. It
Remarkable.
will, oo. It will be remarkable if it's really a smart question. If it's something na, I think yun eh. Kasi, you know, it's always good to ask questions, but it's always better. I mean, what separates someone na good or average and a great um, applicant, I think, would be asking the right questions. No? So, and I think iyon yung mga pwede nating baunin kapag
Mm.
nag-i-interview. Yun yung mga kaninang hopefully na nakuha niyo yung mga ibang mga sagot sa questions. So, um, pwede siguro na remarkable from, it shows you being a good applicant if you ask about career progression. Kasi it means that you are somebody that wants to keep on growing, keep on learning, right? I think
Mm.
someone asking about company culture policies, about how they do employee engagement is also a good question to ask. Um, I think asking about the company, like the structure of the company, halimbawa finance, kasi finance yung hinahandle kong sector, di ba? So when they ask me about the company financials and the company performance, that's a good sign. Because ibig sabihin, they really want to understand their role. Ganon. Smart questions, I would say, would be
Mm.
remarkable.
Ito, meron tayong comment. Kota na tayo Kota na tayo, Miss Pink. Sorry, natataon ko sa pag-inom mo ng water. Pero, hawig mo daw si Jane De Leon. Miss
Wow! Thank you naman.
Hired na rin ba? Isang bar na naman dyan, charot.
Nahiya ako.
Ito, balik tayo sa questions. Tanong ni V Panda, asking for a friend, what is the best advice for career shifters?
Make sure that's what you really want. Make sure that you'll stick to it when you shift your career. Because once you get a head start naman kasi, mas madali na sa'yo to grow into that industry or into that role, right? So, kapag I'm sure you'll have challenge in proving why you are moving and shifting. But that's when you have to really make a good case. Make sure na you align it with your passion or something that you're really interested in. Yun.
Tapos, tanong din, mga ilang minutes daw dapat maka-answer yung applicant? May specific ba na parang buffer time? Ayun.
Hindi ko alam kung syempre dapat pag tinanong ka, 'di ba, may sagot ka na agad.
Mm-mm.
Pwede mo naman pag-isipan mo na ilang segundo. Pero siguro ang question dito is, ano yung magandang ideal na duration ng isang interview? And I think if you last 45 minutes to 1 hour, that is an indicator of it being a good interview. No, if it ends 5 minutes, 10 minutes, kabahan ka na. Joke, tinakot. Pero,
Joke only.
joke only. Pero, yun. So, kasi nga, ang gusto nating mangyari is para siyang conversation, no? So, dapat mag-throw in ng questions back and forth kayong dalawa na nag-uusap. Kaya, ideally, 45 to 1 hour. Kung talagang nakaset for 30 minutes yung call, di okay lang yun. Kasi minsan yung iba nagmamadali din or tight din yung schedule. Pero, yun nga, kaya kapag dagdagan ko ng advice. Kapag mangyayari yun, halimbawa na parang i-end na yung call na parang kakapasok mo pa lang na calls, i-end niya na agad. Mag-open ka ng ibang topic na open for questions. Something more about how you think you're fit for the role, ano yung mga strengths mo, give an example, ganyan.
paano if personal question na related, paano if hindi mo nabanggit meron kang naalala na hindi mo nabanggit, na sobrang feeling mo 'pag nabanggit mo yon game changer, ganyan? Like for example, sa experience, "Hala ba't di ko nabanggit 'to?" Okey ba na ifo-follow up mo siya sa email or tanggapin mo na lang yung kapalaran mo and wait for the result? Ano ano kaya?
I think that's a really good idea. If you feel like it's really going to make a huge impact, then put it in the email when you're following up. I mean, thanks for your time. I really appreciate, or thanks for the meeting earlier. I really appreciate the time to meet with you. I hope that I can, you consider me for this position. I believe that I am fit for the role. Then, tapos sabihin mo yung ano mo,
Okay.
yung experience.
So parang sa perspective ng interviewer, okay siya?
Oo, mas okay na nakikita ko na gusto talaga ng tao yung role.
Okay.
May interest talaga and may commitment.
Mm.
Ay,
Effort, communication, commitment. Nakalista yan, Miss Pink.
nagugulat na lang din ako sa entries ko eh.
So, ito, tanong naman ni Eliza, what would be a major, kumbaga, turn off for applicants?
Ang dami. I mean, syempre, una, unprofessional.
Dami. Sorry, nagulat ako.
Hindi, kasi basically, you have to be professional. So, ang dami ding, the flip side, the other side of it, ibig sabihin, meron din. Kumbaga, hindi naman natin madi-deny na may things that, yung mga don'ts, basically. Mga don'ts na sinabi ko kanina. Those could be a turn off. Majorly, I think it would be being unprofessional, not communicating. Ano pa ba? Not disclosing kung ano yung, so that's also in the communication part. Pero minsan kasi may tendency yung applicants to conceal something, mas fishy, alam mo yun, mas parang it opens more confusion and doubt. Ganyan. Tapos,
Anong
what else?
example nung parang nako-conceal na bagay tapos nakaka-add sa doubt? Like,
Sa experience ko, halimbawa, if they don't disclose their salary,
okay.
o kaya they blow it up, or yung mga ganun. At o kaya yung main reason kung bakit siya umalis.
Okay. So parang masa-sense nyo ba yun if nagsasabi ng totoo, ganun?
I think through time, yes. I think, oo.
Okay.
Oo.
So,
Tapos, kung turn off naman for a new grad, I think yung mga basic talaga. So, show up on time, di ba? Turn off pag late ka. Ano pa ba? Turn off kung unprofessional ka, yung mga ganun. So, don't worry. Sorry kung medyo nakam ako kayo.
So, paano if the other way around, yung interviewer yung late? Parang sa end ba, medyo related naman sa interview, pero parang sign na ba yun ng red flag sa company?
Okay. Yun nga, I think basta may communication. Pwede naman din malate yung applicant, pwede din naman malate yung interviewer, no? Basta siguro magsabi siya na malilate siya.
So, para din talagang pagjojowa, no? Need mo ng constant communication.
True.
Tapos effort. Tapos dapat consistent. Ano yung last scene natin kanina? Effort, communication, and
interest, oo. Ata,
last
nalimutan ko na.
Pa-comment na lang.
Commitment.
Siyempre, yung pinaka-importante, committed dapat tayo. So, eto, merong interesting question. How important is a LinkedIn account? Do hiring managers check it?
100% yes. Very important, and hiring managers check it. Or as for me as a consultant, I I look through LinkedIn, no?
Mm,
Um, Yun. So, yes, I looked at, how they position. I mean, kung ano yung nakalagay doon, I mean, if it's complete from fresh, from graduating, tapos yung first job, ano yung responsibilities, ano yung bullet points of
mm,
achievements. Yes, maganda na meron. Maganda na
mm.
maging active sa LinkedIn, especially if nasa corporate.
Okay. So, parang yung LinkedIn account, parang reflection ba siya ng professional career ng isang tao? Kaya sobrang big deal nito sa hiring managers?
Mm, I'd say na hindi lang naman yun yung
Mm,
main indicator, or like kung wala kang LinkedIn, hindi naman, okay lang din naman na wala. Pero it's much better if you have.
mm. Ay,
And
sige, go lang. Meron akong follow-up question after.
sige lang,
Naka-ready lang
go,
agad.
go, go, go.
So, meron ka pang answer ata eh.
Nawala na.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Kasi meron parang discussion sa social media na parang yung hiring
Mm.
managers ba uh, parang required ba na i-search yung social media accounts ng mga applicants, and parang i-consider siya sa mga sa hiring process. Parang okay ba siya na metrics kung paano yung person or applicant sa isang social media account niya na hindi
Mm.
LinkedIn?
Mm. Um, Tingin ko depende sa hiring manager, depende sa process and practice. But I don't think it should be required. However, if that, I mean, it's open eh. They can, they cannot, diba? So what can we
Mm,
do? We can only cover that base of by making sure you have good personal branding on social media. Kasi totoo din naman, I mean, what you post is a reflection of you, right?
mm,
So, yeah. Especially if I think the roles would be about kumbaga may degree of integrity, or um, showcasing yourself or
mm,
representing yourself, 'di ba, sa company or sa role na pinag-a-applyan mo.
mm.
So baka titingnan talaga nila 'yun.
Okay. So, case-to-case basis talaga siya sa
Oo, case to
company.
case basis. Oo. But I
Yeah.
think we should all know by now that merong namang social media ethics, right? So,
Mm,
or etiquette, like what you can post, what you cannot post, mga ganun.
mm. So, para sa'yo, if, pag nakita mo ba yung applicant mo online, meron ba siyang bearing kung paano siya behave sa online world, ganyan?
Siguro kung nag-blow up lang na controversial, I
Mm,
can give the benefit of the doubt and still look into it further, no?
mm,
Pero talaga ibig sabihin mapapansin ko siya. Pero ako naman, personally, hindi ako talaga nag-check ng other
oo,
social media accounts. LinkedIn, nakakita yun. Kasi lahat naman ng nasa LinkedIn, more or less on a professional level, di ba? Yung mga
mm.
post and yung profile. So, and if they have, advocacies that they support, I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think it should be a metric or indicator. It's just a nice by the way, or a nice addition, you know?
Siguro last two questions na lang tayo. Itong isa ay from Red. Ito. Isa ba sa mga goals ng interviewer ang makapag-negotiate to lower the salary of interviewee from the original company budget? So more on salary talaga yun, tanong.
Mm-mm. Okay. So salary discussion usually comes up mga later stages.
Mm.
Stages na in an interview. It is not the goal of the interviewer to negotiate if they have a budget halimbawa yung company may budget talaga sila for the role, they might negotiate for a lower salary. And that's why on the other side, being that I represent kasi both the company, the client, right, and the candidate, I make sure tama yung middle ground. So, um, kumbaga, what are you willing to trade for this position? Tingin mo ba it makes sense for you to have a lower budget kasi it gives you this benefit or it gives you this opportunity, 'di ba? So I mean, it's not always a bad thing to get a lower salary, but depende din naman yun sa'yo at the end of the day kung ano din yung yung comfortable ka to do.
Mm.
Ideally, yes, dapat tumataas yung salary mo, no? So, yun nga, titingnan mo kung may kapalit ba, may maganda bang benefit for you kung bababa salary, ano yung, what can they offer. But no, it is not a goal.
Okay. So, follow-up question na naisip ko rin, is it okay to ask about the salary right away? Kasi 'di ba, parang yung ibang tao gusto nila na makita agad yung salary range dun pa lang sa job posting para to save time on both ends. Pero ayun, during the interview, is it okay to ask about the salary right away?
By the applicant?
Oo.
No. Sorry, I think that's a turn off. Kapag nagtanong, parang sobrang money-driven naman, di pa nga tayo nag-uusap, di ba? Di pa nga nalalaman yung role. Pero, may better way of getting that information without actually asking that question. What you can do is kapag nakapag-usapan nyo na yung salary, so you'll say, syempre, yung basic mo, benefits, o kaya yung salary expectation mo. Yun, make sure na, yun nga, give you the salary expectation. And you can say na ang usually tatanungin naman ng interviewers what are your main consideration eh. So, you can be honest talaga kung tingin mo money or tingin mo salary, better compensation, then okay lang yun sabihin. Pero to ask, ito ba yung anong budget niyan? Parang
Turn
no.
off.
So,
mas okay din talaga if yung interviewer yung mag-open ng discussion in terms of salary. And if gusto mo talaga malaman, maganda na if dun sa last part na, do you have any questions? Ganyan sa last part ng interview process. So, tama po ba ako?
I guess, because I'm sure you'll cover salary. And there are other things also. I mean, I think you can ask that question, but I would rather you make sure that the message would be more on, or the main message would be more on, you really like to be part of the company, you're interested in the role rather than, pasok ba to sa budget ko? Ganon. So, medyo tricky siguro siya na tanungin. Depende kung ano din yung ma-feel mo is right for the situation. May sasabihin pa ako eh. But I forgot.
Dami natin pinag-uusapan eh.
I know.
Sobrang sobrang ganda ng discussion kasi ang daming,
that's nice.
Sobrang interactive.
Good. Sige, thanks. Pero sige, naalala ko na. It serves you well at least na yung pagpunta mo dun sa interview, getting to know the company, coming across as someone interested, it's much better than, ma-turn off sila because you asked for this. Kasi mali mo, it happens na hindi man right yung budget sa'yo, pero hahanap sila ng ibang role for you. 'Di ba? Pwedeng mag-open ng position, pwedeng i-interviewin ka ulit for another department. So, ang mas nakikita kasi dun is yung value mo eh.
Okay.
Oo, kaya medyo sensitive question.
As in, parang yun yung isa sa mga questions na ang hirap pag-usapan. Like, kahit sa normal usapan lang with a friend, ganyan, di ba? Parang hindi natin siya ma-disclose sa isa't isa pag hindi ka comfortable. So, ayun, sobrang
Yeah.
okay itong avenue na 'to na mapag-usapan yun para may idea din yung viewers natin kung paano siya ma-discuss or paano siya ma-process. Ayan. So, last question na lang tayo kasi patapos na yung time natin. Is
Okay.
it okay po to tell the interviewer na you're applying to other companies?
Yes. This will fall under communication. No, so like sorry. So uh, yun nga, just being yun nga, disclosing, communicating na so they know kung ano yung iba mong consideration or like iba mong option. If they ask you if you're applying, say yes. And important with that information, important then to say na kung saan ka na in the process. If you've done first, second, third, final interview waiting for offer. Diba? Kasi also, it can be an advantage for you or you can use that to your advantage na if they really like you, they will speed things up for you. Diba?
Mm.
Kung gustong-gusto ka talaga nila, they would, they would miss that opportunity kung ang bagal nila.
Mm.
So okay lang yun. Okay lang yun.
Okay. So, ayan, tapos na tayo sa Q&A. Sobrang dami nating insights for today's video. And ang dami talaga nating natutugunan, di ba, sa isa't isa, sa mga viewers natin. And mamaya, i-announce natin yung isa pang winner. Abangan nyo yung post natin tonight kung sino yung dalawang makakatanggap ng 500 pesos na pang Shopee. Wow.
Nice.
Shopee, baka naman. Sponsored yan. So, to wrap up our webinar, what is your message to college students, fresh grads, or young millennials? So, ayan.
Okay. I think as a final advice, no, message in an interview or even a mindset should be keep on learning. No, learning doesn't end in college. I think the path you have to choose is kung ano, di ba, mamimili ka na ng career mo or ng role mo sa isang company. Choose the path kung saan matututunan mo yung mga bagay na gusto mo talagang matutunan or where you see yourself, excelling in or being an expert in. No, also, second point would be find a great boss, a great mentor in a great community. I think sobrang effective at sobrang ganda na merong ganito yung Prospel, sharing this information, itong information to newly graduates, to those who want to know more about interviews, and building this great community and great platform, no. And then thirdly, pick your culture well. Research about the company, research about how they take care of their employees. I think kung if you think about or if you bring that 3 points with you as you apply, as you are in the interview or anywhere in your career, that will, go a long way. You'll go a long way with that.
Ayun. So, thank you so much for your time and effort to be here today, Miss Pink. Sobrang dami talaga naming natutunan. Sana talaga nung kabataan ko merong ganito.
Oo, no?
Diba? Parang nung kabataan natin, hindi pa, kahit yung simpleng, what is your strength? Parang ang hirap na mag-reflect at kung ano yung piliin na sabihin, di ba? Kasi
Mm-mm.
ito talaga yung scary and intimidating part ng job application. And pero pag nalampasan mo, parang magiging smooth na eventually. Based on my
Correct.
experience na
Mm-mm.
sobrang ino-overthink natin na yung interview, magsasalita ka, kailangan mo makipag-communicate. Pero alam mo yun, pwede natin siyang i-turn around na ito yung chance mo na talagang ipakita kung ano yung meron ka. So,
Correct.
ayun.
Agree.
Self-confidence talaga at the end of the day. So, ayan, para sa e-certificate natin ng mga attendees natin, you may claim your e-certificate of attendance dito sa link na nasa screen natin. And don't forget na mag-sign up sa website natin, sa platform natin, ph.prospel.com. And next week, meron tayo ulit, di ba? Weekly nga to eh. Weekly routine natin to eh. Na, kaya nga siya, ano, di ba? Career Talk Thursdays. Kasi every Thursday, may ganito tayo. So, next week, meron tayong webinar about personal finance for students and graduates. So, sobrang laking tulong din nito. Lalo na, di ba, kumikita na tayo and meron na tayong sariling salary, meron na tayong sariling pera. So, ayun, paano ba natin mamamanage yung personal finances natin? Ayan. So, wait lang. Kailangan ko lang huminga kasi ang dami nangyari and ang daming learnings. So, ayan, wala ka na bang gustong sabihin, Miss Pink?
Okay na. Salamat sa lahat ng nagpunta. Yes.
Yan. Kumusta naman yung mga compliments natin for today?
Salamat po. I appreciate it.
So, baka gusto mong i-plug din yung LinkedIn account mo kung saan kanila pwedeng mahanap. And
sige.
yung company nyo.
Yes, oo. So, Michael Page Philippines, you can search us sa LinkedIn. We also have you actually learn a lot from our website because we post a lot of tips, articles that can help you in your interviews, how to manage yung buong process of application, jobs in the market. You can also apply there if you're a mid to senior level, or if you know somebody, who might benefit from it. Also, if you're just really wanting to know about the industry. If you're some new grad, halimbawa, nag-isip ka kung anong magandang industry to pass, na you want to pursue. On LinkedIn, I'm also active in terms of sharing market insights and then posting jobs. So, Pink Aparicio, yan.
Ayan. So, pwede natin siyang mahanap sa LinkedIn. So, that's it. And that ends our Career Talk Thursdays, common interview questions and how to answer them. Sana nasagot talaga namin yung mga tanong nyo. And thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, I'm your host, Roan. Follow us at prospel.ph sa Instagram, sa LinkedIn, sa Facebook. And tune into our social media accounts para sa updates. Kita-kits ulit next Thursday. Bye!
Hi, thank you, Ron.
Bye.